See, now you right here, people trying to, we're getting ready to call the resource officer, you're going to need a hand behind your back. So how did that work for you? And he say, well, not so good, coach. And I say, well, what can you try? Well, I can go ask for another piece of cornbread and tell you that Johnny took my other cornbread. You see what I'm saying? So I'm teaching them how to resolve conflict, not just calm down, So that was the way that I got students to change. I had to have a reward system too, because with this generation, it has to be some kind of immediate reward. It don't have to be expensive though. That's what people don't understand. It'd be something cheap. I had 100-point system, so every week you can earn 100 points. I kept a system with the grading system. You had to have at least 80 to go to the store that I created, and the store was created with things that they say they like the first day of school. Okay, so I was able to pull those strings because guess what? People like Publix, people like Kroger, they're always willing to partner with schools. You just have to go in there and do it. And so they had to work to get 80 points. So that's that thing. But the bottom line is when they were aggressive with me, when they say F you, coach, I cannot respond to them with F them back. Okay, that was another part of it. I have to be able to respond in calmness and with respect. So when they say F me, coach, it was consistent for me to say, oh man, I'm sorry you feel that way. I don't feel that way about you. And just keep it moving. Why? Because they have these built-in mechanisms, and they already used to people coming back up. So they ready for that. But they're not used to people saying, man, I'm sorry you feel that way about me, man. And it causes them to think. Right? I'm telling you, it works, man. That's why I say it's a long story longer. But I'm just, those simple things, they really work. But this is, I said all that to get y'all to this point. I've been doing it for 12 and a half years because last 2019 in December is when I had to retire because of my disability early. Okay? But all of this time, I haven't had a problem with my disability. Years, basketball coaches traveling over the world, 13 years of teaching some of the most difficult kids in the whole school and being effective with them. All that time, never had a breakdown. But this time, I did. Okay? I started back, I anticipated me leaving and being an educational consultant because I was already doing my own programs and talking about right now what I did. So I knew that was coming, and so I always imagined what kind of questions people would ask me, and so I always assumed that educators are going to say, when I start telling them stuff like this, you don't yell back, they're going to say, that's ridiculous, and they're going to say, well, that'll only work in Henry County, so I wanted to be able to take that away from them, so I left after 9 years in Henry County. I left. I went to Atlanta first. I went for a year. I went to DeKalb County for a year, and I went to Clayton County. And by the way, it worked at every single system. Every single system. And that's my own research, because I experienced it, but it worked at every single. And now when teachers say, well, that won't work in Atlanta, it did for me, and I have that, in my resume. So, but that's the thing. I don't do what they do. I don't respond the same way they respond, right? When I started back in July, that's when we come back. July 19, it was different for me. My response, I would find myself, the first incident happened when I had a principal, and trust me, I'm going to finish in time. Seems like I'm not, but I am. Watch, watch, watch. But, but the first incident that really happened was when I decided to come back to Henry County. I didn't go through the schools. I called the people that I know in the county that's over the system because I have a relationship with them. And so when I told her, man, I want to finish it up in Henry, she was like, oh man, we got a perfect school for you, Mr. Worthing. Let's meet. I'm going to have the principal come over here to meet. So basically, she told them to hire me. He wasn't, he didn't hire me. And that sometimes you got that stuff like that. You got that, he had the Napoleon syndrome. Y'all know what that is. I don't have to explain it. But he had that as well. And plus, he didn't know about EBD. Okay? And that's why she wanted me with him, because he don't understand that. So all he have to do, let me do my job, and he's going to have an excellent school year, because that's why principals like me. They don't have to deal with my kids. And a lot of schools, the principals are spending more of their time in that classroom, stopping fights, breaking up fights, taking knives from somebody. Seriously, they're spending their time in that classroom. My principals never had to deal with my classroom because I dealt with everything in-house. Anybody need to be suspended? I did it. She didn't. She just approved it. Because she understood that I was only working with 10 days for the whole year. That's what a student with an IEP only can be suspended for 10 days the whole year. So if I'm upset and I say, I'm gonna send this boy home for 10 days, guess what happens when it's time to get out in April and stuff like that, and he do something. Can't send him home. We gotta sit there and look at each other. So she understood that, so I had to be doing all that. But that part of it, okay? But another situation happened. I had a new student to come in. He came in a day before I was out one day. He came in that day. I get back the next day and the kids say, Coach, you better get this one right here. He using the N-word. So, he a kid that came from like Denver or somewhere like that. And I say, man, y'all just chill, man. We gonna work this thing out like we always do. Well, he messed around and called me one of them N-words, and normally I don't respond. I don't care who it is, normally I don't. But before I knew it, I had my hand around his throat. Now, before you look at me like that, I did not squeeze. I didn't. There was no pressure on the kid's neck. It was just the look of Mr. Wortham looking at him like this. It scared the freak out of him. No, so I didn't have that problem with him. But that's not the way I do things, because this is what we got to understand about kids now. They learn from everything you do. So by me getting him to comply by doing this, what did he learn? If I want people to do what I want them to do, I'll be aggressive with them, scare them. That's the truth. I'm telling you that they're going to learn from those things that they see. So I can do that, but then he going to be the one in the school when the teacher called me. They're going to say, he had his hands around Johnny's neck, and I'm trying to understand why. I don't know why. I don't know. You tell me. But that's why. It's because of that. And so I started doing things like that. And so when I had to go see my therapist, he recommended that, it's probably time for me to walk away. And I was thinking the same thing, but the county didn't want to lose me. So they say, hey, take this family leave, think about it, try to get your medication right, see if you can work with it. And so I did. I took that. But this is what was the kicker. I still supplied the stuff for the store because I had 2 other teachers in there, but they were parapros. They didn't get paid even half of what we got paid. So I know they couldn't afford it, but I knew they need some ammo. So not ammo, rewards. But but I was still supplying her with those things. So she would we would call, meet at Kroger, and one day she said, they put a guy in there where he's about as big as you, but the kids are intimidating him, and because he used to be, they used to send him in there from time to time. And he asked her, why did they not do this to Coach Worthy, man? I sit in here and watch them, they would not dare go over there, because they were doing him like, what? You know how, that's EBD students can get away with that. I mean, that's just true. But they would do that, and he asked her, what did Mr. Worthing do? She said, let me tell you something. When that jacket came off, we all scared up in here. She told me, she said, that's why I used to walk out of the door. Both of my teachers used to walk out of the door when my jacket came off. And they said they did that because they didn't want to be witnesses to what I was going to do. And so the kids knew that and understood that too. And so when she told me that, I knew that it was time to say when. Sometimes when you see stuff on television with teachers, sometimes it's a teacher that didn't know when to say when. I knew when to say when. But the moral of that is that you have to be careful. That's why I say you treat everybody, not just people with mental health illnesses, but everybody, because you can be a person that lives without any symptoms, any problems for over 25 years, and then all of a sudden, it hits you. And I've heard a lot of stories in our groups. I've heard a lot of people say, man, there was nothing wrong. I mean, they was making A's, B's, and as soon as they get in college, and I'm not saying this to be funny, but they're butt naked walking around an apartment complex with a knife and don't know why they're doing it. All the way to college. All the way to college. This is real. We have people that do what I do, that have those stories, that they went to Stanford, and I get a call all the way in Atlanta, and my son is walking around with no clothes on, with a knife in his hand in an apartment complex. Okay? And so that's why I was saying that. It affects each person differently, and the reason we have to be careful and have the information is because when we approach anybody, the best approach to me is to be non-threatening and to be calm. It has always worked for me. I can only think of one time, and my memory is good 80% of the time. So 80%, 80% is good. My students made 80, they was good. I make an 80 in school, you good. So 80%, is about what it is. But the thing is, 80% of the time, you're going to come out in a better way if you are non-threatening and calm. Okay, and you'll talk about that later. Anybody have any questions for me? All right, thank you. Y'all been great. Thank you.